Hello, I'm Dr. Ron England, and welcome to COP4813, or Web Systems 1. This is a class where you're going to be basically learning how to do client-side programming for websites. There are a few aspects of what that means. And for the vast majority of what we're going to do, you're going to be using HTML, which I, by the way, am not going to cover. It's pretty easy, and I do expect you to be able to go out and find sources on how to do standard HTML tags. But at the same time, you might not have to learn a lot of HTML tags because there's a lot of tools out there that do this for you, that are basically WYSIWYG tools that allow you to create HTML. But we are going to use HTML, and we're also going to use CSS. I will have some coverage of CSS. There's some fairly complex stuff that you can do with CSS, and I think as you learn a little bit of CSS, you're going to learn all the great power that you can do, cascading style sheets. But the concept there is, one, we want to actually build web pages and websites the correct way, which is using HTML for what it's good for and using CSS for what it's good for. But the real gist of the class is going to be building the interactivity into these websites, which means JavaScript, the programming language of choice. So let's look a little bit about how the class is organized. So first, you need the website of the class. COP4813 Web Systems, we actually have a website for it. And it's an external website because many people want access to the tools and videos and everything else and not have to log into Falcon Online to get them. And plus, I can give you access to them before the class and after the class is over. So the structure of the class is relatively simple. I have 15 weekly programming assignments. If you've had a class with me before, you probably are very familiar with these 15 assignments, just a weekly assignment. And I kind of start simple. First thing that you got to do is you got to get a web host. There are a lot of hosting agencies out there, all the way from GoDaddy to free sites. Guess what? You got to get one. Now, I'm not going to give you a tremendous amount of guidance into which ones to do because that's actually part of learning how to choose a web host. There are thousands of web hosting sites. And I expect the students on the discussion board to start talking about what their experiences are with different web hosts. I'm just going to give you a few possibilities that you'll actually see in the assignment and move forward. The next thing you do is you're going to start building a website at your web host. And over the course of the 15 assignments, you are going to go ahead and start building pages on that site, moving all the way up to building and implementing a full-scale web-hosted game. And you'll be able to do it. Believe it or not, I have tremendous levels of success with students in the past. This is where you will be 15 weeks from now. So that's one graded aspect of the class. The other graded portion of the class is your client project. The client project is really not so much about building a website or building a web page. It's about finding and making sure you have a happy client. So some clients are going to have complex needs. Other clients are going to have relatively simple needs. But if you're going to be doing this type of work, the number one thing is you have a happy client. So knowing how to work with the client, knowing how to make sure that they have a maintainable website at the end, all those are questions that the client's going to respond. And just so you know, your client's going to be giving you your grade for your project. That's how it works. Anything you need to know about how to create websites and how to do that part, you're going to get that through all the weekly assignments. There's plenty in there that you're going to learn and do. And I've got quite a few lectures that narrow in and right on the different things that I'm going to ask you to be able to do. So that's a good portion of it. Now, this is a fun class. Most of the people, I think every student that's ever come through this class is like, wow, these are pretty cool things that I get to do. You're going to be animating things on websites. You're going to be drawing. You're going to make a spirograph. You're going to build a full-scale game. The bread and butter of web systems programming is really right there at assignment 3, building a form and making it validate so that data that goes into a database is good. But at the same time, we're not going to be dealing with back-end databases because that's in web systems too, where we actually start talking about how to do the server side of everything. This is all client side. So what are some of the tools that you're going to need? Well, I actually recommend VS Code if you're going to be using a tool to build stuff. If you've had classes with me before, you've already used JS Fiddler, which is a great location to start trying out some JavaScript. But and then I do require that you are active in the class, that you go onto the discussion boards, that you talk about your web hosting experiences, that you look at different approaches for doing the different things that you need to do. There are no quizzes, there are no exams. It's all based on doing. Building the individual pages that I'm asking you to build to show the levels of interactivity, and getting with that client and building the site and making your client happy is the grade. So the other thing about this is that there's no textbook. Everything that you need to build good web systems is available on the web. You don't need a book to do that. And the way that you're going to learn to do it is the way I always like to learn, doing it. Get down behind a computer and start writing code, do the Google searches, figure out how to do things, document what you do. That's the way it's done. So I hope to see everybody having a great time during the semester, and I hope I expect everybody to do well. You are going to be the project will be a team-based project, so you will need to put a team together. But I think everybody's going to be quite capable, and most people that are in this class have already had a class with me before, so have at least a little bit of the expectations that I have for you. So good programming, and I'll see you this term. Bye.